Hey everyone, and welcome! And thank you so much for joining us today for the next Paint and Slay. For those of you who have been with us for the first two episodes, we had some fun with Myconids, but today we are shifting over to some lovely... Hold on, I'm realizing the caps got skewed a little bit. The joys of Watch It Live, folks. We're going to be getting into some lovely, I use lovely with quotes, carrion crawlers. So Lauren,
Yep.
are you ready for this one?
I'm super ready. I've been kind of looking forward to this guy because he big and
He a
it
big.
is it is well, it's definitely bigger than the Myconids. And then we are in October, and so we're starting to get into the creepy
Mm-hmm.
crawlies, and I am
Mm-hmm.
excited. For those of you who are wondering and want to play with their carrion crawler or destroy it while they're in the game, the carrion crawler can be found in Neutral No More, which is one of the newer adventures that's out. You go to Grand, excuse me, go to the Grand Tour, go to the Underdark, go to Velkenvilve. I think I
Sure.
pronounced that correctly. Sure. Go to Neutral No More, and one of the creatures you will encounter, one of the boss creatures, will be this lovely thing.
Mm-hmm.
That
This
lovely
one.
thing
This one.
right there. Yeah,
Yeah, because it just
it's
wants
grody,
hugs. It just no, it's just looking for some hugs. No big deal.
and it
None
just
at
never
all.
wants to let go. That's all.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't want to let go of you at all. But for those of you playing the home game, this is the D&D Nolzur's marvelous miniature from WizKids, Carrion Crawler, a lovely, lovely critter. And I do have on hand the pre-painted form that you can also get from WizKids, just to kind of give you a frame of reference. However, I have decided because I went and I looked at lovely insect photos of grubs and centipedes and caterpillars and other loveliness like that to kind of riff on the base but make it a little bit more realistic. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this. It's definitely gonna be a different approach than what we did for the Myconids. Speaking of the Myconids, which I did not call the Myconids like I did this morning, Lauren.
That
Don't
was
say
adorable.
mini. It was mini and Myconids combined together, the Myconids.
Mm.
So this is what mine ended up coming out looking like once I got them glued onto the little black disc and adding in those lovely grass tufts from Army Painter that you can find in many different hobby stores. But here's Mike and here's my Mikey all set and ready to go. And I know, Lauren, you've been sharing yours as well, and they came out beautifully. But
I'm
if
so happy. Yeah.
I was thrilled.
Me too, especially the cap, the rainbow one, getting
Uh-huh.
the nice fade on there. That was
Yeah.
super fun.
You did a
You can
great
see
job.
Yeah, you can see pictures of mine in the Discord if you come to discord.gg/idlechampions. That's where we have a channel where not only can you see pictures of our minis, you can see pictures of other people's minis, and you can grab the list of stuff for
Hmm.
each of our paintings. So if you'd like to paint along, or if you want to watch and then paint afterwards, you know what we're using. V usually has a whole suite of fun stuff. I'm going to be using the exact things that we recommend in that list, and it's a pretty short list.
Hmm.
And we're going to be doing the carrion crawler this week and next week, so you have plenty of time to
Yes.
join us. And Sukurzo, thank you for subscribing. Welcome. And thank you to Martin and Mars for being our awesome moderators and producers in chat. They're going to be grabbing questions as they come on in for either V or I or the game or minis or just Friday fun. We'll
Hmm.
take Friday fun questions too as we paint and slay. So let's do this. Where are we
I
starting?
love it. Did you want to show off the game a little bit first before
Oh
we jumped into the
yeah.
painting? Okay.
Yeah. If you
All
want
right.
to
So
jump
let's
on
let's
into the
let's pull
game.
that up. Here we
So
go.
this is my game. I just have
They're
a
so creepy.
crew rolling through Neutral No More, and they're there.
There
Here
it
I
is. There it
should.
goes.
I've created a formation here with just
It's
Briv
effective.
because
Your other
Briv can
formation
just.
is good.
Oh
There
yeah,
we
Briv
go.
can
There
just
it
tank
goes.
everything, so we have a chance to see this carrion crawler in action. Yeah,
And it goes
it's
into omp chomp.
yeah, with those extra yeah.
Features.
But
Yep.
Briv's got it handled. So
Yeah.
that's where you can find the carrion crawler, and that's what we're going to be painting today.
Yay! Now, the one thing I always try and do, let me flip this over, especially I'm catering towards beginning painters. So, those of you just getting into the swing of things, just getting your supplies going, I want to make sure you have basics to fit your needs, which means we're going to be doing some paint mixing. I'm going to be talking about paint colors specifically from Vallejo, but that doesn't mean that you have to use Vallejo paints. The only reason why I'm using Vallejo paints is because they're tiny little bottles, and they fit the space that I need for, where I'm working, as opposed to the larger craft bottles, because yes, you can use that craft paint that I have stashed in my art studio downstairs. But today we're going to be doing this lovely beauty, as we discussed before. Already comes primed. For those of you not familiar with WizKids minis, that means you do not have to take a prime paint and put it onto your mini to make sure that the paint colors we're going to put onto this mini today, sorry, I'm in a different time zone, will make it so that your paint will adhere nicely. So that's just a little heads up for you. And Lauren is showing off the back of the package. Lovely.
I'm trying, but I don't have the best camera for this because it's a single focus camera. There we go.
So here we go. So here is the actual mini. Here is the reference art that WizKids puts on the back of the packaging. If you want the SKU number, that is 73535. Just you can get that from your friendly local game store, or you can go into or you can go to dndmini.com, I should say, and check it out there, or shop.wizkids.com or shopwizkids.com, something along those lines. But they're easy to find situation. So what we're going to do first is, in terms of where you mix your paints, I am of the paper plate. You can use a paper plate, no problem. I did receive a wet palette, which I am still debating because many of you have brought it up in the chat. What about wet palettes? And I got one, so I'm kind of like, do I go for the wet palette today and give it a try? Thinking yes. All right, so
give it a try. Give it a try. Yeah,
I will try.
If people want to follow along, as I said, with the stuff that we recommend, for those of us who are beginners like me,
Yes.
who are still learning, I'll be using, as I said, exactly what we've got listed in the Discord, which I bought one of the game color sets of paints, and I've got the paintbrush set. And
Beautiful.
Some water and my pill bottle with the carrion crawler on top, and I'm going to be using all the basics, and then so it's kind of fun to watch you do some different stuff especially for our users and our fans at home who have a little bit more experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll give it a whirl. So for those of you not familiar, this is essentially what a wet palette is. This one is particularly from Redgrass Games. I just got it, so I haven't really used it much. I'm not saying go out and buy it. What I'm saying is I'm using this in case you're curious. Basically, wet palettes are plastic trays, and then inside you will have, this is like a wet foam. It's almost like chamois material, like if you're like on swim team or you go to the pool or the beach a lot. So it's one of these bits of foam that hold moisture beautifully, and then it's a layer of parchment paper that goes on top. And the idea is to have it so that it keeps the paint damp for a little bit longer for you.
were you trying to come up with another word for moist?
I was, because I know sometimes people don't like that word.
I know. I like
so
that
that's
word,
what I was
though.
doing. Okay. I don't want to squidge anyone out. So
That's
I will attempt mixing on this. Like I said, I have used ones in the past of the own DIY, but this is a professional one. Let's see how it goes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump into needing both red and black. Again, I am using Vallejo, so their classic black and their classic red are what I'm putting to use. Lauren has the game color line, so her colors will be slightly different. And you do want to shake these paints up, even though you may have been using them before. Paints do like to separate. That is perfectly normal. Just a good shaking will do ya. So what we'll do, once you're nicely shaken and not stirred, all we're going to need is a dot of red. Nice healthy dot.
Healthy dot.
Like a size of let's say a pea. We're going to go to food references again.
Hey, the food works. I think that is a universal reference.
It does help. And then I'm going to put like a sesame seed. Of course, I got a bubble with that one. Little sesame seed size of black. And then I'm going to take my brushes and I'm going to pull my 10/0. And this is the one from Mod Podge that I especially like.
All right, the tiny, tiny one.
The teeny tiny one, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to dip the brush into the black and get just a touch of black onto the tip of the brush, like so.
Okay.
And then we're going to dip it into the edge of the red and do a quick little blend here.
Ooh.
And you want to end up with like a dark red tone. Let me bring this up closer so you can see.
Yeah.
Get it in let's see if I can get it so the moisture doesn't flashback from the glare. And we're just aiming for like a darker, almost like a maroon tone red that's happening right there.
Ah, okay.
A little bit of black will go a long way when you're mixing your paints. We have discussed this before. Sometimes it's easier to bring the black to the color than try and bring the color to the black. because black will overwhelm quickly.
Yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
just noticed that how
Yeah.
much. Oof.
So I'm going to mix it just a little bit more red in. That's why I said start off in the edge of the dot because you can pull the color in to get to where you want it to be. That's looking more of like the color that I want here.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
like a deeper maroonish red that you're aiming for. And then what I'm going to do is just set this over to the side and pick up my carrion crawler, this fellow here. And I also got a nice little new mini holder that I'm giving a whirl as well.
Ooh.
But again, if you want to just do like we were showing you before, the pill bottle filled with either like rice or sand, and then put blue tack on top to keep it on like Lauren has going, that is also perfectly cool. What we're going to do with this dark red that we've mixed up is we're actually going to go into the mouth and get that lovely gaping maw that is the carrion crawler's choppers for the mouth.
I love we're starting directly with the alien mouth. I love it.
Yep, right? Ah.
Yarr! And we did actually have a couple of
Ooh,
questions as well as comments that I wanted to grab real quick. So
lovely.
Luke McKay was asking, is the Carrion Crawler also Monster and Idol champions? Yes. You
Mm-hmm.
can fight the Carrion Crawler in the Grand Tour, in Neutral No More, in areas 10 and up. They're a big boss. And Kevin Bolware dropped our first Bob Ross of the day. The
Oh,
colors we will be using are at the bottom of your screen, which I actually I should think about adding that to the overlays. The colors that you'll be using are at the bottom of your screen.
ooh, that could be
All
fun.
right. And now I'm gonna get to coloring in this
Yep.
mouth.
So it's literally just getting it mushed into the mouth as much as you can. Because really, this is about the only place we're going to, well, not really, but this is the only place we'll be using this particular color
Ah.
for funsies.
Oh, I got a little bit on the side. Oh well.
That's why we're starting in the mouth first. Because if you get a little on the
Yep.
side, we can correct that in just a tiny little wee bit. But you can see it gives like this lovely deep red tone
Yeah.
in
Are we
the
getting
mouth
on the
itself.
teeth as well?
I always go on the teeth because I find it gives like a really menacing look to the teeth when you go back in to paint them.
Ah.
Because you end up doing more of like a little lighter dry brush technique on those teeth, which then gives them like a darkened look around their edges. And also, in this case, it'll give it somewhat of a bloodied look, which is
So a
quite
carrion
fun.
crawler that's already done a chomp,
Oh
essentially.
yes, I mean let's just assume these are chompers. They're omper chomps
The super
for
chomp.
sure. Yes. I was reading up on these lovely monstrosities. Holy heck! Do not want to encounter one of these.
Yeah, I've got
They're
the
wicked.
stat block up over here. They are a CR2, which doesn't seem that deadly, especially if
But
you're but but like the tentacle attack on this thing with poisoning and paralyzing and all sorts
yeah,
of stuff. And also it's a large,
yeah.
which always is a challenge.
It's a large,
All
and
right.
the thing that gets me is that the tentacles are what do the poison damage. It's not the mandible section
Yeah.
that gets you. So for me, I'm kind of like, oh heck, that is. You definitely want to keep your distance from those lovely tentacles because that will definitely come after you.
Oh yeah.
So we have the darker red, which we're going to let dry. We'll come back to
Okay.
that in just a minute because it needs to dry a little bit before we do anything additional to it.
Chomp chomp chomp.
Chomp, 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 chomp. I'm not sure about names still. I'm still thinking, like, part of me's like, oh, I could do Carrie, but that's just so, I don't know,
We'll see what the
expected.
chat has to say.
That's,
We'll see
yeah,
what
let's see what the
comes
chat
up
has to
with.
say. Like, what sounds good? So while that's drying, what we're going to do is mix three colors together. So you're going to need your black, you'll need white, and you'll need brown. And we're going to
All
get,
right.
I'm going to get some colors going here. So I'm getting the black, the white, and the brown. Let me shift you over here.
I mixed these earlier, but I don't trust myself, and so
That's
I'm just
fair.
shaking them again.
That's
Yeah.
fair. Okay, so I'm talking about equal parts black and white. So I'm going to
Okay.
do, again, a pea-size drop and a pea-size drop of black and white. Right next to each other.
Okay. Oh,
There
we've
we
already
go.
got multiple suggestions in chat. I love it.
Oh, 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 oh. Tell me, tell me, tell me.
We've got from Jake Hands, we've got Carrie the Carrion.
Mm-hmm.
From Luke, we've got Carlita. I've
Ooh,
got Silver on X says Carrie is a brilliant name. Luke comes back with Crawlita, and Kiwi
Crawley.
Mischief says Crawley, which I love it all. I
Ooh,
love
I
them
love
all.
them all too. Oh, I kind of like Crolita.
Yeah.
That one's
Oh,
fun.
Cyrus Black says Ron devoured. All right, so an equal bit of black, equal bit of white, and
Yeah, so it
then
almost
how
looks
much
like
of the brown?
a yin yang. Then you're gonna put the brown
Ah,
at the top. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first mix the black and the white together, so it should end up with a mid-tone gray. And I'm using the
okay.
base of my brush. I'm not using the bristles like I did before. Right now I'm mixing, mixing, mixing.
Okay.
Yeah, so now we have a nice mid-tone gray. Not a dark gray, not a light gray, just nicely in the middle. And then what I'm gonna do is dip my brush, the base of it, into the brown and pick up a dollop and start mixing into my color because I want to turn this into a warmer brown. So I've just done a couple of dips into the other side.
Okay.
And now I'm ending up, you'll see that the color shifts from being more of what was a neutral gray into this warm gray. I may switch. See, this, now I remember why I'm not a fan of wet palettes. I'm too hard
Why
on
is
the
that? What
parchment
did it do?
paper. I just ripped the parchment paper because I mix my
Okay.
paint colors like this. So I'm going to take this, as you can see,
Okay.
it's this warmer tone now, and still using that details brush that we used before in the mouth. I'm going to go in, and you see all of these lovely, groovy indentations here along the body.
The abs?
The abs, the
Are you
how many
painting the
pack?
abs?
We're gonna
3, 6, 9, 12, 16 pack, I
16,
guess.
the 16 question mark pack. What we're gonna do is taking that paint that we just mixed on the finer brush, the 10 over 0, we're gonna go in and we're going to paint in additional definition, I guess. So
Oh my god,
basically
I love
get
it.
this into the line here. So follow along those lines. And this is gonna really enhance things as we move along. This is, you did the red slab, right?
Yes.
Similar approach to what we did with that red slab.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm trying to introduce a different technique to you all as we do a different mini each time. So I thought it would be fun to show you how you can go in with darker colors first and start creating. I might have to change brushes. I'm getting a rogue bristle.
What do you? So I mean, I kind of know what that means. Where there's a bristle that is like my hair that's just going in a different direction than everything
Yeah,
else.
let me
So
see if it happens again and I will show you what I mean by a rogue bristle. Watch, it won't do it now because I've rolled my brush.
yeah.
If it pops up again, I'll show you the trick. You can either roll your brush or just replace it full out. But if you get a rogue bristle, it basically means that one of these hairs has popped up and it's like sticking in an opposite direction or in an odd direction. So you can't get as precise lines
I
as
feel
you.
like
Here it goes. It's starting to do it
my
again, I
color
think.
is not nearly as dark as yours. Is that should I add more brown or more black if I'm not
If
ending
you
up
want it to lighten up, you can add a
or
touch more
darken
white.
up? Actually, I feel
It's
like
not
I'm
dark enough.
yeah.
You could probably get away with doing a little bit more brown and it's just going to shift it to an even warmer
Okay.
gray, which is still okay. Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
because I'm looking at this and it almost kind of looks just like the same color as the pre-painted mini. So I'm like,
Fair.
I'm not sure if I'm getting any definition. So maybe I just
Very
didn't do
fair.
enough brown.
Hold on. I just need to play with my camera settings, which will happen often when I'm painting these minis because I realize sometimes certain angles are catching light in different ways. So,
All right, that's looking darker. There we
yeah.
go. And so what happens if you end up with that rogue bristle? Is that the thing you just got to go in with like
You
scissors
can you
or?
can trim it off if you want to if it's extreme. What you can also do is roll your brush with the paint on it while it's in the paint, and that sort of helps loop things back in together with this type of
Okay.
emotion, but in the paint. So that's another thing you can do. And sometimes brushes just give up the ghost, and you gotta let them move on, and you will
Aw.
grab a new one and proceed with the new brush. It's totally okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for your service, brush. It is time for you to
exactly.
retire with honor.
or just get shifted to, yeah, I think I might have to switch to a new brush. Shift to terrain painting for this one.
There you go. Where the rogue brush just adds stuff.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to our mods for collecting all of the name
I
suggestions.
love
We'll
Crolita. It's
we'll
so
come
much
up
fun.
with a name by the end of this. You know, maybe I'll have a poll going.
Ooh, a
We can have the chat.
poll.
Yeah.
I like that idea. And there are some details that happen up and under the neck, just forewarning,
Oh yeah. Oh,
that I'm going to
geez.
try and reach.
This is where having the pill bottle really helps because I find myself doing this. And
Mm-hmm.
like if I didn't have the extension of the bottle, I'd just be like right up on this mini.
Yep. Yeah. Luckily, this kind of runs almost like a throat, like there's that texture on either side. So it kind of helps when you can see it that way.
Get in there. There we go.
I just want to tweak the focus. There we go. But you can see it starts kind of bringing things out more. Doing that. What happened?
I'm sorry, I looked over and Liggy Bite says I'm still sticking with Ms. Chewy Decay.
Miss Chew.
Chewy Decay, that's pretty good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I think we might need a poll, quite frankly.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
We had some good ones coming right out of the gate with that.
Hungry Party Killer.
Hungry Party Killer? What'd that be? HHP?
Yeah, maybe.
HHPK. Sorry, HHPK. Hupuka.
Yeah, I think towards the end of this, we'll
do a
grab a
poll.
couple of these names and we'll do
I
a
think
poll.
that'll be fun.
So keep those Carrion Crawler names coming. And then yeah, I gotta get on the side of this thing. This thing has abs for days.
It really does. I'm even like doing a little bit like the edging here on the bottom because there's like that little lip that happens. Little lip of a blip. And don't forget, you can turn your minis upside down to get into other directions that you need to get up into the undercarriage, as one could say. The other
Every time I
trick.
turn this thing, I'm seeing more abs.
Yep. And again, if you slip for some reason, don't worry. There's a reason why I do it in the step process that we do. So if you do slip, it's going to be okay later on.
It's all gonna be okay.
Happy little accidents if we want to bring in our buddy Bob again.
I mean, patron saint of all happy painting shows, right? Like, give it up for Bob.
See, I think we need to get a hold of a Treant mini and paint that up and have that be our Bob Ross.
Okay, all right.
We good with that?
That's a plan. I like.
It's our happy little Bob Ross Treant.
Happy little Bob Ross Treant. I love it. I love it so much. I am sure we've got a Treant somewhere in the game
I
that we
think.
can model this after. I would be so happy.
Well, didn't we just have Human?
That's true, as Treant Man.
Yeah. There's a connection point. That would be a
Listen,
riot.
Idle Champions has been around for a long enough period of time that we have done a lot of monsters, and so really it's just kind of looking into it to see, all right, is this a new monster? If it's a new monster, then let's just make sure.
Yeah.
And so are you actually now going in between all
I
of the...
am.
Oh, jeez.
I'm going in between now, and I'm just edging that out. It's kind of like, again, like that coloring book style where you do the edges first. Is what I'll do.
Oh, yeah, I see the line going up the...
Yeah. It's there in some spots and other spots not as evidently, so that's where I kind of cheat and I'll put in my own little blip.
You're adding extra abs? Is that what we're doing?
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm kind of edging out the abs, really. Now, you do have some play with these tentacles while they're not painted. So I'm tempted to fold these tentacles up slightly so I can get under here. But then I'm going to have to go off the shot because you can see there's some edging that's happening there. I'd have to pull off screen though. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull off screen and there's this little spot through here that I want to get. So I'll paint that and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done painting it because I actually have to hold this between my knees. Because I can't hold it and keep the tentacles out of the way at the same time.
Yep, this is that moment that we remind everybody that, hey, do your best when you're at home.
Yep. I'm going to put the game back up while I do that. That way people can watch the game a little bit.
There you go. I've told it to go forward with my full party, so it's not just hanging
Yeah,
out,
that's cool though.
slaughtering this one carrion crawler. But this is a good point to remind everybody that do your best to sit in a semi comfortable, natural position.
Mm-hmm.
Try to move your light where it makes the most sense. And we are in a position where we're trying to do that, but we're also trying to do a show and
Yep.
where you can watch and play along. So definitely just keep that in mind for yourself, that if you've got to turn things around or move things or uh, do whatever you need to do to be in a comfortable position so that you're not giving yourself a crick in the neck to try to get at these
Mm-hmm.
abs, which is a sentence I just said.
Yes. Carrion crawler abs.
Yeah. That's why I've got, just off camera, I got my light right here, which is why I keep coming over here to do the.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
just get in here.
And I try and keep things in frame for people, but in this case that was not happening. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me show you. I've gently bent back these tentacles while they're not painted. If you try and do this while they're painted, you run the risk of cracking them,
Yeah.
the paint colors. So I just basically went in and I lined around just that edge through there to help create a
Oh, yeah.
shadow. So I did that on both sides. Just like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm still going to kind of get a few more points on this side of the crawler, doing the same thing. This is like oh god, what it was one of the Twilight movies. Do you remember that big hullabaloo where Robert had like his abs painted on? I forget which one it was for. But it was
I think
like
I heard about that. Yeah.
for some reason the media locked and loaded onto the fact like his abs are painted. It's like, yeah, makeup went in and kind of enhanced the features a little bit, which I thought was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Well, and what's healthier? Like, you also hear
Right?
about actors who have to go through some horrible,
Yeah.
really intensive regimes in order to not only get the superhero bodies, but
Mm-hmm.
then they do things like they intentionally get dehydrated the day before a shoot so
Yeah.
that all of the definition pops out.
Yep.
And that's how you end up with these superhero bodies on screen, is they're just a moment in time. And
Yeah.
or like bodybuilders will do that
Mm-hmm.
just before a competition, and it's it's impressive, but it's also just not realistic, and it's good to remember that. And I feel like
Yeah.
everybody was all like, oh god, his abs are painted on. It's like, well, yeah, but he's also
Yeah, but
supposed to be a vampire and doing all kinds of amazing supernatural things.
right.
uh, so his abs are painted to make him look supernatural. Oh well.
Yeah.
Movie magic. It's not like he went
Exactly.
out in the real world and said, these are my real abs.
Could you
See
imagine?
my abs painted?
That takes a long time to prep. My goodness.
That's an aesthetic. As I'm
That's
going to get
that's a
into body
morning makeup
painting.
routine I am not investing in. Thank you kindly.
No, 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 no.
No, no.
I want to be healthier, but I am
Mm-hmm.
not interested in painting on the healthy.
No.
Nah.
No, 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 no.
All right. But and yet here
Okay.
we are painting on abs.
Right?
Because
Okay.
carrion crawlers.
So now this is where it gets to be fun. So because of these tentacles, we're actually going to take this same color and get it onto the underside of the tentacles where the suckers are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just to give this a little bit, like I said, I've been looking at other creatures too to kind of give this more definition. I am going to grab a new brush because this one is not behaving. Oh, wait, is this one? Ooh, hold on. I'm good. I'm good. I had one in my pencils pot.
Whoever is keeping track of the number of times that we have eaten paint, that just happened.
And that's just it. Like, I don't talk about the fact that yes, I will lick the brush to get a point because it's not something I want to encourage for me. It's a very bad habit. And I know it. Do as I say, don't do as I do, please.
All right, so we're just doing the suckers, it looks like.
We're just painting a line, including the suckers in.
Okay. Oh, and Monkey says there's a tree ant boss in Mad Wizard level 30. That, yes. So there we go.
And I'm pretty sure WizKids has a treant. I will inquire, but I'm pretty
So we
sure they
will.
do.
Yeah.
We might be able to do a Bob Ross. That
Tree
could be
ant.
fun. If we take the treant and we look at one of Bob Ross's paintings, that's more tree-like and try and capture one of his trees.
Yes, I love all of this. We had a couple more questions and stuff
Lovely.
coming in from chat. Michael Riviera Art wants to know what's the blue handle thing called?
This
Uh,
is a
yeah.
great question. This is a miniature holder that just came into my possession. Thank you to the lovely folks at Redgrass Games. I have just started literally using this today, but there are some features that I'm already liking on it. It's got this nice little ergonomic grip like
Hmm.
this, and I can also manipulate the miniature by spinning it on its cap, which I'm
Ooh.
not mad at. And if I'm doing multiple minis at once, you can actually get additional caps and pop off, and that way you
Oh,
still have the handle, but you can switch through, which for me, I was like, oh, that's a nice feature.
that is. Because
I
yeah,
mean,
because when we were doing the Myconids the last couple of weeks and we had two of them going at once,
you had to cycle
I
between
had
bottles, yeah.
yeah. And I mean like oh no, I had to cycle
Yeah.
between pill bottles. I'm a 44-year-old woman. I don't have any pill bottles.
Yeah,
No.
not
But
at
like
all.
that's
Same.
a that is a nice feature.
Yeah, it really is lovely. I just am not saying go out and buy this yet because I'm literally only using this today, folks. So once I get a better feel for it and what have you, I'll probably just go on my own socials and let people know. I'm like, hey, I got this and it's cool, or it's neat, but buyer beware if there are any. I'm not saying there are. I'm just saying right now, I will tell you what I'm using. Do not take this as my stamp of approval to go out and buy it.
But that is pretty cool. And you
Yeah.
know what? Whatever works for you and whatever works for other people and I mean, I like my pill bottles.
I do too.
I do have a lot of them.
Yeah. Sometimes it helps just to keep the pill bottle caps because I've done that in the past.
Yeah.
I will keep the same caps for the same bottle. But of course, being the goof that I am, I had this one black bottle that I had been coveting for ages to be able to use for mini painting. Yes, forget the fact that it had, vitamins in it that I need. But then I
Like we
forgot
need to
to
finish these
save
vitamins so I can
caps.
use this.
Right, and that's kind of what I was doing. Like, it's black and it won't flare black on the screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. Now, what I am finding is I'm adding in just like a little dab of water for the tentacles to my paint that's already been mixed to thin this out just a little bit more
Yeah.
because it's helping it go into the grooves a little bit better, is what I am finding. So I would
Oh.
recommend just thinning your paint out just a touch.
Oh yeah, that works really well.
Yeah,
There we go.
because this has so much texture to it.
Oh, a couple more things from chat. Let me go grab
Ooh,
those.
chat
So
is
Nan,
chatty. I like it.
yeah, I love it when chat is chatty.
Me too.
So Nan Breadloaf says, oh, they're talking about when we were talking about painting on abs and everything, how people lift weights to make the veins pop for a photo and movie shoots. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The tricks people do in order to get stuff that looks the way they want it to on film, whether it is getting just more of the detail that you wouldn't normally see on either in a photo or on screen. Because that's the other thing is uh, a lot of the time people talk about how the camera will pick up all of the details or oh, I'm in 4K and so now everybody can see everything. Well, what often happens is it's not the stuff you want. It never picks up the details you want. And
Right.
so absolutely people will do things in order to even if it's not to make the picture itself look different, it's just to make those details pop.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I used to teach high schoolers, so I had wrestlers on the wrestling team. I was floored that one of my kids was just like, "Oh, I can't have this," because we were having like a class party. He goes, "Oh, I can't have this today." I'm like, "Why not? Growing boy, of course you can eat." He goes, "No, no, no. I have a tournament tomorrow, and I need to make sure I'm making weight." And I was like, "Holy! Like you seriously can't have half a bagel?"
Yeah, because it'll
Yep.
it'll do all the things he doesn't want to do. I mean, props to him for having the
Yeah.
for having the self restraint to not eat half a bagel. Because guess what?
I'd be eating
That
that bagel.
I'm eating bagels. Yeah.
I'm having that bagel. When next time I'm out to Seattle, I have to remember to bring bagels.
Oh yeah, I don't know if they'd make the trip as well, but or just some pumpernickel. I miss
Pumpernickel? I
pumpernickels.
can work on that.
Pumpernickel. I can't find any pumpernickel around here. It's the worst.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
can
god.
totally get you the pumpernickel. That's not
Oh,
an
thank
issue on
you.
my side at all whatsoever.
Oh, that'd be nice. I appreciate it. Thank you.
What if I vanantied it up and got you the pumpernickel bagel from this one place that makes them perfection?
Oh, I miss I all right,
Mm.
getting out of that for a second. But
Totally
yes,
okay.
yes, I am super duper. I love the Pacific Northwest. It's
Okay.
amazing. So yeah, I do miss bagels.
Hold on. Unexpected technical difficulty. The base of this handle is magnetic and it just attached to my arm to the camera.
I just thought
I'm
you were in a
afraid.
very
Nope.
interesting position.
Nope. The camera really wants to help. That was
Camera's
funny.
like, let me just grab that for you.
Let me just hold that for you. I beg your pardon.
Ooh, Sequoia01 says, you know what's helpful using pill bubble packs for mixing paints. You can do quite a bit with those
Mm-hmm.
things. Oh, interesting.
That is a good idea.
And Jacob Blackman, I signed up for that Kickstarter on that mini holder. I received it a year ago and I'm really liking it. So apparently someone else
Nice.
in chat has, I
Oh,
didn't even know that
good.
was a Kickstarter, but that totally makes sense.
Yes. No, that's lovely to know. Thank you. Like I said, I thought I'd share like the one hazard I okay, off camera, this is fantastic. I'm realizing, oh, I am now being very careful about where I'm aiming this thing.
The bottom of it, yeah.
I keep starting to go, I'm starting to feel it like pull at some points. Like it's magnetic enough where I'm fighting it. This
That's
is new.
it, it's a nice, I could see that being a super nice feature though of
Mm-hmm.
wanting to attach it to something so that you can let
They
go
give
of it.
you a little disc, which I think I can quickly wink. See, there's that little disc right there.
Oh yeah.
So that you can have it on your workspace and attach it, and then that way you
Ah,
can set it down and boom, you're good to go. So that is an option, which is quite clever, and I thought it was a lovely feature.
that totally
Yeah,
makes sense when you are not in the middle of trying to do a show with a camera and where your camera is going to
your
have
camera arm is heavily metallic.
yeah.
Okay, this keeps, honestly, I'm gonna take this off the holder, and I will just hold it on the cap.
And do we have a name for that awesome holder?
It
Do we have
is here. It is the ergonomic handle with for miniature painting. Is its official
Hmm,
360.
there you go.
So
Let us
this
know if
is
you have it in chat too.
yes, and if you paint and do mini streams, hazard warning. It's a strong magnetic pull.
It is strong. It is
It.
strong like all of the
Oh
abs
my
on this carrion
goodness.
crawler.
That yeah right.
And Mr. Jack Reed says, "Ah yes, the eternal cry of the painter, thin your paints."
Which yes, to an extent, I will
But I
say.
love it, yeah. Thin
Um,
your paints.
it's great to thin your paints for some things. Other times, I find it helps to keep the paint slightly thicker, especially when it comes to eyes, because you can have them paint work for you. And when it's thinned out, it tends to run. So I actually, when I'm going in to do eye work, which we haven't really gotten too much into, we did slightly with the myconids, but those are just straight up black.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to doing things like irises and everything like that, I won't thin my paints. I will keep
Hmm.
them full load, full thickness, if you will, and then go in and do very thin layers on my part by barely touching the brush to the miniature. I have found greater success with my eyes doing it that way, as opposed to thinning every single paint that you get. And same thing for dry brushing. I don't like thinning for dry brushing because then it's thinning out the pigments and you're already pulling the paint off the brush. And I find you get into like this weird back and forth of like now it's too much off the brush or it's not enough. And so I'll keep my dry brush paints at full capacity unless that stuff is coming out like toothpaste because then that's just too thick. Ketchup, maple syrup. Those are my go-to consistencies.
We're gonna have to put together a list of
Foods.
here are the food reference points. So ketchup, maple syrup, toothpaste, all those fun things.
Okay, so got that onto those tentacles.
Yep. Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be pretty because we're going to go over and like do some more finer detail work.
Yeah.
Did I forget a tentacle bit? I think I did right there. Sneak in right there and get that. I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
I think so too.
And I want to say Okay, now we're going to stick with the same color, and now what we're going to do is, I'm going to call them the mandibles, a little for the bite. We're going to
And
do
I actually have to
basically,
mix up more of this color because
ooh,
I've run out.
oh my. So it's going to be the mandibles here, which you can see, chomps.
Hmm.
And then we're going to do, see how it so almost looks like it's wearing armor plate on its head?
Yeah.
So we're going to paint this all that color as well. So it's going to get the same
Okay.
color.
Well,
But
mine's going to get
just, yeah.
the same color as close as possible.
Yeah. And honestly, it's, if anything, it's, if you have to shift your color slightly, here is the place to do it because it won't be as obvious that you had to switch. You could just be like, oh, it's just a slightly different color for that particular spot.
I made a conscious choice to have a different color.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whoops. Okay, now see, hold on. Because I don't have the length of the holder anymore, I need to be aware of the fact that my positioning of the camera has skewed. All the little things you never thought you'd have to think of.
It's a never-ending thing when you're trying to paint on stream. Ugh.
Well, it was more like I didn't think the magnetic quality of a quite nice handle, I will say, that was comfy in my hand, but because it's magnetic, would alter how I could use it.
Who knows what challenges Bob Ross had to face when he was putting together his show? Who knows what behind the scenes moments he was having of like,
That
you
would
know,
be hysterical to find out,
I
though.
I betcha he had technical difficulties because
Oh,
everyone
I'm
does,
sure.
but I wonder what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Well, and he had a squirrel, right?
oh, I remember that the baby squirrel.
And it lived in his pocket?
Did it actually come on set or
I don't know
was
if it came
it?
on set, but he would talk about having the squirrel in his pocket.
Yeah.
And, like, wouldn't that be a riot if off screen, here's Bob painting his next painting sample to get ready for the next show, and the little squirrel's in his pocket, and, like, jumps out every so often, and he has to, like, compensate for that. I don't know. Like, that my head just went to an interesting
Squirrel
story.
compensation. I love it.
Like, what if the squirrel's, like, stealing brushes? I don't know.
I mean,
Wants to
it
jump in
would.
the painting.
There you go. AR Forsgren said the squirrel's name was Peanut, I think, which is also
Oh,
adorable. Is
Peanut.
also the best.
So I'm just going to now, we're back at the mouth, so I am going to carefully line around the mouth.
Okay.
That's why I'm using a detail brush. Again, I'm sort of like treating this as coloring book. So I'm going to line around the mouth and around the edges of the other parts of the body. And then what I'm going to do is jump into a larger brush to get the rest of this. So I'm edging right now. Just to get
And
some cleaner lines.
this is the point where I get to fix that whoopsie with the red on the mouth.
Exactly. Which isn't necessarily a whoopsie. It's just going to look like a nice deeper shade in the mouth area.
Oh no, I mean I got outside the mouth.
Oh,
I
okay.
had a big,
Had a big old
you know when
oops.
like kids play with lipstick and they just
Oh,
end
it's
up
like,
with like, blah. It's like,
yes.
were you going for a Joker motif? I'm not sure, but yeah.
Right.
So I'm just gonna fix that.
I used to babysit this little girl who was obsessed with lip glosses. And this was back in the 90s. And remember how like they were so frosty?
Yes.
Yes. So she got into my lip gloss one time. And
Uh-oh.
she put it on her face, but she put it on her face and then like wiped it off. So she came to
Oh.
find me and it was like glitter on the lips, but then it like wet up the side of her cheek.
Oh, jeez.
But it wasn't like highlighter either. It was one of those like, honey, what did you get into?
And you know, and they're a kid, so it's one of those like,
Exactly.
what'd you get into? And also,
Nothing?
yeah, you look beautiful, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, are you having fun? Just
Oh.
let's not get it in your eyes. That's all.
She wasn't even trying to like show me that she did it. She was trying to hide it, which is why she had wiped it off.
Oh, that's even better. That's even
So
funnier.
she wasn't red-handed, she was pink glossed.
No one will know, and everyone will know.
It's like, well, I had a panic. I was like, did you get into that glue glittery stuff that you had just in your art kit? What is this? And then
Oh
she
yeah,
fessed up.
at least it wasn't actual glue. Oh geez.
Yeah, because that was just like, oh, I mean, I know it says non-toxic on the bottle for Elmer's, but still, it's one of those things I'm like,
Yeah.
watch, this kid has to go to the emergency room or call poison control on my watch.
So you're just edging around the
Mm-hmm.
edge of the mandible, but you're not actually, are you actually
I'm
doing the
not.
mandible?
I'm gonna do the mandibles too, but right now I'm just getting around the edge of the mouth first,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna go in. Sorry, I'm hearing a strange voice, and I'm realizing it's my older child. And then I'm gonna go in and paint the mandibles, and then I'm gonna switch to the bigger brush.
Okay.
Well, actually, take it back. I lied. I'm gonna finish edging around the helmet feature. I don't know what to call that.
And meanwhile, I'm gonna. Oh, everyone in chat is now talking about Bob Ross. Kevin Bolware says there's a new Bob Ross documentary on Netflix that talks
Oh,
about the struggles he had to go through. Very good.
oh,
Yeah, I
thank you.
know. He I don't know all of the details, but I do know he had a very interesting
He
life. That it
did.
was like him and Mr. Rogers were both people
Both.
that, like, when you find out more about them
Mm-hmm.
and like what they've done and what they had gone through, and to
Yeah.
still continue to be kind of the bastion of goodness that they have
Yes.
become, it's super fascinating.
I have nothing but the utmost respect for people who manage to stay soft and caring through the hardest of hardships in life.
Absolutely.
It says a
Yep.
lot about the individual, for sure. Uh oh.
No, this is perfect. Mitzi Moo says, I think any technical difficulties for Bob Ross would have been happy little challenges. Yes. Yep. You
I
nailed
love
it.
it. I love it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I have edged completely around the upper portion where it meets the body.
Yep.
I've gotten around the mouth, and now I'm going to paint those mandibles.
Okay. And this is still that same color.
Still that same color, still that same detail brush, little 10 over 0.
All right.
And then I'm going to hop over to my larger brush to get the rest of this. I'm a fan of the coloring book method. This fellow has a lot of nooks and crannies.
Yeah, especially around the mouth, which is the
Mm-hmm.
thing I just said. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Things you never thought you'd have. That's another list we could create. Like the things you never thought you'd have to say when you're painting miniatures.
So you would figure I would be immune to that by now with D&D, because pretty much on a weekly
True.
basis for all the years that I've played D&D, there is something that I will say either as a player or as a DM, and where I'm like, well, that's a sentence I just
Mm-hmm.
said.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think mini painting, especially when it comes to dealing with D&D stuff, is just the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
wait a second, did I just say?
Yeah, I
Okay,
just said that.
that's a weird thing to come out of my mouth. Sure.
Yep. I can hear the words that are coming out of my mouth. Absolutely. So now I have this all edged off where I feel comfortable shifting to a larger brush.
Yeah. Let's do
I'm
this.
just making
Larger brush.
sure. Oh, I missed a little spot. I wasn't sure if that was the paint reflecting back at me, but that was indeed a little spot that I just missed. I'm going to quickly. Yeah, so I'm going to switch. Well, rinse my brush off before I forget to do that part. And don't forget, when it comes to painting, you want to have a container of water for rinsing, and then another container should you need to thin any paints. Because what you don't want to do is have your rinse water become your thinning water, because your rinse water is carrying stray pigments, and it can very much affect the color of your thinning paint if you don't use fresh water. And you also want to make sure that if you have any drinking device, as Lauren is holding up one, I highly recommend picking up one that's an entirely different shape.
Yep, yep. I very much went for this so that not
Uh-huh.
only could I see the liquid that was on the inside, but it was something that had a handle. And so the only thing I could drink had a handle.
Yep. Yep. It's a thing. It is absolutely a thing. Okay, so I am going to jump to my number 3.
Ooh, the big boy.
Or wait, no, that's the one. What am I throwing? Hold on. Here's my number 3.
I mean,
So,
in relationship to what we were just using, the big
yeah,
boy.
it is a bigger one. And I'm just going to use that to help me get the upper portion of the head and the antennae.
All right. Also, if anyone has any last suggestions for names for this carrion crawler,
Yeah.
our mods have let us know that the poll for names is almost ready to go. So
Ooh.
we're taking some last suggestions. Um,
So you want
what's Yeah,
to...
Mars? Why don't you go ahead and put it in our backstage chat here? What is the current list that we have?
Yes,
And
that would be fun to see.
I'll get to painting the head. And so this is just do the whole head, do the
Mm-hmm.
antennae in the whole head.
Yep.
Awesome.
Where we've kind of edged in. Now we're just going to get to finish the rest of the area going on here.
Oh, it's weirdly freeing after doing all of this little
Mm-hmm.
tiny work with a little tiny brush, and now
Yeah.
I got such a relatively big brush. I'm like, ah,
Yep.
it's just paint.
No, it's just going through and getting an area that's a bit of a wider swath.
Although getting the back of these antennae are definitely a
It is,
challenge.
I was just about to say, the back are kind of tricky. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a lot of rotation for these. Like, did I get all the curvatures? Did I get it? Did I get it?
And we're okay to go over what look like the eyes because we're going to be doing
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah, we'll be
Okay.
doing that. That's going to get a touch of black, but it helps to put the gray in first so that way the colors meet up nicely.
Ah. There we go. All right.
I think I've just painted the same antenna twice.
That's okay.
I'm like, oh, wait,
Okay.
no, I already got that one.
So our polls are limited to 5 options. So the
Okay.
current list that we've got here is Crawlita, Crawley, Carrie, Rowley, and the HHP, which was Hungry Hungry Party Killer.
Hungry HHPK, hungry party killer.
And Ligabytes just suggested Messalina. There we go. Messalina Thanes.
Messalina.
A little on the nose.
That's a
girl
title.
She's a girl of unsatiable hunger and death.
Ooh,
That's a reference.
that is also not wrong.
Yeah. No,
Not
absolutely
wrong at all.
not. I mean, we've watched this thing in the game. We've watched it
Yeah.
devour or try to
Here,
anyway.
is it still on the game? Because I could always flip over for those who may have missed it.
The game is still going, although I'm not on that.
Okay. That's
that
cool.
I've moved forward.
You've moved on.
Yeah.
As one would
Riva's getting a
hopefully
little
do.
bored killing the same thing over and over and over again.
No more squishy big guy?
We can always go back.
No, I'm kidding.
Or we'll keep going forward and we'll just get the
Mhm.
more deadly carrion crawler. It will just be
Ooh.
more and more deadly.
Bigger, badder, Betty.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes, I am at this point. This is what we look like. We have the definition done, and we have the upper portion of the head where it's like, it looks like armor. It's like a plate. Natural armor
Yeah.
plate almost is the best way to describe that little part. This reminds me very much of like an ant. Like I said, I was looking at a bunch of insects to sort of prep this thing. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
that
could
reminds
definitely
me
see it.
very much of an ant. So I kind of like, oh, let's play around with colors here.
Yeah.
So that's that portion. I'm tempted to put the handle back on too. I don't know which is better, fighting the magnetic draw or having like lesser to hold on to. I'm debating still.
I mean, now that you know about it, hopefully,
know.
you know.
I don't think I'm gonna have to go with any. I think when I get to the points where I'm not like tipping it in odd angles, I should be okay.
Yeah.
How are you doing with your helmet?
I think I'm there. I'm just taking one last look around, trying to find, all the
Beautiful.
little crevices. But I think I'm there.
Yeah. And again, this all gets neatened up as we go along. And I know it's like, it does look like the child who got into its mother's lipstick. But that's
Yep, there we go.
That gets cleaned up along the way.
That's looking good.
Lovely. All right, now we're going to go back to mixing. Question
All
is,
right.
do I want to keep... I think I'm going to forego the wet palette and go back to my classic paper plate.
Join me in paper
I'm
plate.
gonna join you back
Paper-
to what I'm used to doing.
Paper
Paper
plate.
plate.
Bliss.
Paper plate,
Harder
please.
to say than
It is.
I want to admit. Okay, before we go back to paper plate,
Yeah,
bliss,
what we're gonna do?
I think we're gonna start this poll.
Ooh,
to
yeah.
Figure out a name.
Okay.
So let me throw some names at you because we have a ton from chat.
Oh.
So we have the ones that we got: Crawlita, Crawley, Carrie, Rowley, Hungry Hungry Party Killer, Sir Crawls a lot, Raoul,
Sir-
Cruella.
Oh, I like
what
Sir
kind
Crawls
is-
a lot. Sir
Sir
Crawls a
Crawls.
lot is singing to me, no pun intended.
All right,
I
so
like big bugs and I cannot lie. Like that's
there
where
you
my
go. There
brain
you go.
goes.
All right, so we're gonna pick 5 of these. We're gonna go Sir Crawls a
Okay.
lot. I want a Crawlita on there. Uh, let's go. I think we gotta go do Crawly. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
good. I think we need Hungry Hungry Party Killer on
Yes.
there. And would you prefer Raoul or Rowley?
We already have a Crawley, right?
We got a Crawley and a Crawlita.
I think let's do the Raoul just to kind of give a little bit more variety.
All right. So those are our 5. The mods will get um a a poll going in chat, and we'll do the poll for like 5-10 minutes. We'll do it for a
Okay, cool.
significant portion of
That'll
time,
be fun.
especially since we're going to get another influx of awesome people from
Oh,
the
that's true.
game,
Yes.
so they'll have a
The
chance
game
to
can come in and have
join
fun with us.
in. There we go. What shall we name our Carrion Crawler? And we'll pick it afterwards. All right, so
Mm-hmm.
now I need to catch up with paints. What am I doing?
I just did equal dots of white and brown next to each other.
Okay.
And I'm going to mix that up with a brush base, not with the bristles. Oh, paper plate, it is so good to have you back.
Oh, paper plate, at last I
Mm-hmm.
found you.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to lighten this up even more. So I'm gonna shift that and say let's do 2 parts white to the 1 part brown.
Okay.
Because I'm realizing that's a little bit darker than what I wanted. It's also why I didn't say add in black quite yet. Because I want to make sure I get... Because we're going for like a tan at this point.
Okay.
Like a mid-tan.
Like a milky mocha or like something a little darker.
Ooh, I like that. It's a mocha. Yes, a milky mocha.
All right.
Yes, in fact, I say let's aim for that 2 parts white to 1 part brown for a milky mocha color. And I am going to omit the black. Because now I'm seeing this mixed together.
Yeah.
It's kind of like mocha hot chocolate, if for those of you who aren't coffee drinkers. I know you exist. They are out there.
Um, a I'm trying to think of a good tea, like an English breakfast, but with a good little bit of milk in there.
Yeah.
That might be a bit too
It might
bright,
be a little bit
but yeah.
too, yeah. But definitely like the mocha hot chocolate family
Mm.
is a good food reference.
I mean, food is always good.
Food is always helpful.
Come paint with us, and then afterwards go
Go
have some
hungry.
lunch and or dinner, because that's just. I mean,
Kind
I'm
of how
gonna
it
go
works
have
out.
lunch.
That's true. I have to
Yeah.
work on what am I going to do for dinner? Because I have dinner and then jumping into the other stream after that.
Oh yeah, yeah. You should tell everybody what are you
Oh.
doing tonight.
Well, I'll give you a hint by leaning. Something to do with dragons.
Just something to do
Something
with
something
a little bit of
small.
dragon.
No big deal. No biggie at all.
Just a tiny little thing
Just
that you're doing.
tiny and wee and petite and graceful and
Absolutely. And I still want a picture of somebody on top of your tiny little mini that you're talking about, like doing the whole never-ending story. Yay!
I'm gonna try and find a mini that I can do that with. So basically, what I am doing on my YouTube channel, The Crafting Muse, at time zones at 6 p.m. For Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be unboxing the gargantuan Tiamat from D&D Icons of the Realms from WizKids. She big. She big. So yeah,
All right.
that's what I'm gonna do. So I flipped back over to my number 3.
Number 3.
And I'm going to go back in, and where we did all that ab work, we're going to go in. Just check my notes, right? Yeah, we're going to go on the underbelly. So we're going to paint this onto the underbelly here.
And are we going to try to avoid what we've already painted, or is this the
We're
point
actually
where
going
it's okay to
to
go over it?
Paint over it just a little bit. And what that's going to do as it dries, it's going to create a shadow. And I did slightly thin my paints with like a drop of water too on my brush before I went in. But this is one of those things, it'll be more evident as it dries because I'm not doing a very thick layer over it.
Okay.
And again, if you hiccup and go over, The legs, that's okay. But right now we're working on getting the underbelly.
More ab definition.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I just saw, yeah. So coffee and tea are one of those things that a lot of people have differing opinions on. Like I
Yes.
know I love coffee and tea. I love them both,
Mm-hmm.
but my partner Luke, not a fan of coffee at all. Um, Mitsumu in chat is saying I'm weird even though I am from the UK. I don't drink tea and I can't stand the smell of coffee. I mean, I don't know if it's uh weird in the UK, but it's definitely not weird in general.
No.
Yeah, Irene UK is they're right there with you. I can't smell. I agree with you on the tea.
See?
So yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's about finding the tea or coffee that is the right flavor for you, and sometimes it's just not for you, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's one of
Oh,
those
so much
things that
truth.
it can have like it's got a lot of variance in it, both coffee and tea, but at its base, it's gonna taste the same. And if you're just not a fan, you're
Right.
not a fan.
Right. Exactly. Fully agree with that. I used to be an avid drinker of both.
Yeah.
I like them both equally. However, coffee no longer loves me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I
it's one of,
mean,
well, you know how I am. Like, have those weird dietary things on my end, and coffee is one of those no goes for me now, which broke my heart when I found out I couldn't drink coffee anymore.
aw.
To the point where now it's almost like a self defense mechanism. I will not like the smell of the extended fragrance of coffee in the air. Like, I'll like it at first, but after a while, my body's like, you got to get away from this stuff. This isn't good for you. It's
Yeah.
the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I'm just lucky that Luke likes the smell of coffee so that when I do make it,
Mm-hmm.
that's it's not that big of a deal
Yeah.
because then at least I don't feel so bad and where I'm forcing him to have to smell coffee all the time. But I lean towards tea
Mm-hmm.
most of the time when I'm going to have a hot cup. And
Yeah.
as the weather has gotten to the point where it is warm drink time again, and I am so excited to break into all of my teas because
Ooh.
oh, they're just it's so good.
I am a big fan of tea. I always have been.
Yeah.
I
And we
got,
got Mars, who's also a big fan of tea. So
ooh,
like very
yay.
slowly this channel is being taken over
Teetotalers.
by tea aficionados.
Aficionados. I love that word.
That's I don't know if that's a word I just made up or not. I'm going to claim
I don't
credit for it
care.
right now. Probably
You
isn't me.
should. You should, because it's a good word. Sometimes
Uh
words just come around like they feel right. That feels right.
Absolutely. So Sylvian X says in chat, I heard drinking or your rinsing water or putting your brush in your coffee is a standard thing among miniature painters. Yes. I can say as a complete
Mm-hmm.
amateur, yes.
Have done. Have done. Have been. So guilty. I
Yep.
think there's even a stream where I have done it and I had a reaction that I actually got a super chat for it. Because of, I was like, oh my god.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet this stream, but I've been very, very good about uh getting the plastic cups and then the
Mm-hmm.
real glass, and so it's so
Smart.
completely different.
Yep.
So that's helping.
That is absolutely smart.
I have though got paint all over my hands already. I don't know how.
That's
I don't
fair.
know
I
what.
use my hand to blot often.
That's intentional though. I have
Yeah.
a spot of white right there that I'm like,
Oh,
how did I do that? What did that
interesting.
what
Where did you come from?
where did that happen? I guess as long as I don't get it on my shirt.
Right? Oh,
That's
there
what I'm trying to avoid.
is. If you can catch it quickly, and this is a trick for anyone, if you get paint in places you don't want it to be, and you have to do it while the paint is still fresh and wet, if you get rubbing alcohol, 90%, 70% is questionable, but the 90% rubbing alcohol, you can put that onto a cotton swab, or not a cotton swab, a cotton ball,
Okay.
and um, blot it into where the paint spot is, but then make sure underneath you have a paper towel, like a pad of paper towel underneath, and you can usually blot the paint out and through without damaging the fabric.
That's good to know.
I have
Because
saved
yeah,
many a shirt by doing that. I think I might have to play the Move the Tentacles game again. Yeah.
Yeah, so if we've gotten kind of the big swath down the middle, we're
Yep.
we're also doing over
We're
the
doing
back of the
up.
tentacles
We're
and
doing the back. We'll do the back of the tentacles once you get underneath the throat. This is where it's getting a little
oh
bit
yeah.
tricky. See, there's all this loveliness underneath. Look at that. Which we do want to paint this color, luckily, but trying to get up and under is proving interesting. There we go. Tentacles.
All right.
They're a pain in more than one way. There we go.
All right. Oh, we got
And
more questions from chat.
ooh, I love it.
Ooh, this is kind of an interesting D&D question.
Mm-hmm.
Sequoia One wants to know what's the strangest character you've ever played in a campaign? Ooh,
Okay. Yeah, I have a story.
go for it. You do your story first.
So, when I was doing the show for Cobalt Press, The Last Dare, Tales of the Old Margreave, and very first episode, I wanted to find a way to sort of bring the players together and have a little bit more camaraderie. So I created this character, Mama Rihanna, who was based off of this woman who I had the pleasure of encountering. I didn't get to meet her. I wish I could have met her. But I encountered this woman at the pub that was right behind my flat in London. And she'd go in every night, 7 p.m., like clockwork. I could set a watch by this woman. And she would have her Manhattan at this little table in the pub. And started calling her the Manhattan Mama. So I'm like, wouldn't it be funny? And I would listen to her chat, and she was just boisterous, and she was of the ilk where I'm older, it doesn't matter what I say because I'm an old lady. What are people going to do?
Ah, okay.
So she was one of those. And so I was listening to her chat and her various conversations with the bartender and the people who knew her. And I was like, it'd be funny to have this type of personality in this pub to kind of get the players to, if not start talking with each other, start talking with her, and then they start getting information, etc. And she had this very definitive voice and hiccups every so often as she was talking. And she liked beer, but she also liked cake. And if you bought her cake, then you're a friend forever. I thought she was going to be a one-off. I thought she was going to be like, they met her, they kind of got the mission, and they went into the forest.
Yeah.
What I didn't expect them is to fall in love with her to the point where she's actually become a recurring NPC for me when I do stuff for Cobalt Press.
I don't know. I think just these 5 seconds, like I am already in love, and I would love to hang out with this woman. And yeah,
she was so batty and a little bit outside the box thinker, but they wanted her to stick around, so it was amusing. And that was a zany little lady who I did not expect to become a character I'd play out for a while.
aw,
But Mama Rihanna, she's a little entity now in Midgard.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and I will tell my character, although I'm having a hard time coming up with just one, but we do have a poll winner.
Oh,
The chat
yay.
has decided that our carrion crawler is called Sir Crawl-a-Lot.
Circle. Yes.
Thank you, chat. Thank you for all of the lovely suggestions.
Do we torture Jason now with trying to come up with a similar, but it's like, I like big butts, all Sir Mix-a-Lot?
We'll have to find out. We'll have to
I'm
ask.
totally being a goof about that one.
I mean, I'm not. I'm going to ask. We'll find out if Jason and Dylan want to do a Carrion Crawler song about Sir Crawl-a-Lot.
Sir Crawl-a-Lot. I
Yeah.
die. Okay, so I am going to switch back over to a detail brush because tentacles, yo. They're getting interesting. But basically the whole belly is covered. And as I said before, in this dried in time, you can see that the deeper tone that we used is showing through.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a quick little way to highlight even further before we get to doing a wash. So I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to jump back down to my little detail brush. That is the 10/0 for those of you playing the numbers game. Different numbers game. Teeny brush. Teeny wee. And if you need a shift to even a smaller brush, there are smaller brushes out there. In fact, yeah. Here we go. So I'm going to flip to this one. My 10/0.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use the same color, but there's parts of these tentacles that are getting kind of funky to reach. It'll be easier to go in with a smaller brush. And I am thinning a little bit as I go along, like I said before, just so it kind of goes where I need it. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, where do I start?
And we're just covering the whole tentacle with this color?
Yep.
With this
So,
light
except you're
mocha?
gonna try your best to edge around where we did do the darker grayish tone.
Okay.
You don't want to cover that completely if you can help it.
I will do my best. No promises.
And it kind of helps to have not brush, paint loaded on the side of the brush a little bit. So you can kind of use that to take the side of the brush and guide the paint along the miniature.
Hmm.
It's a little paint technique. I'm thrilled that Sir Crawls a Lot was the
Yes,
winner. Oh,
congratulations to chat. We will be so next week as we finish up this Carrion crawler, we will be finishing up.
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to add to the overlay Sir Crawls a Lot, just the name of this.
Yes. Oh, yes, please do. I am utterly here for that. So I just had a quick little hiccup where I got some of this other color onto the gray part. I'm not too worried about the bit on the eye, but I just took a wet paintbrush and I pulled it off so it's not so glaringly there.
Okay.
I can always go back in and touch that off. But yeah, just be careful with the tentacles, folks.
They're deadly.
They're deadly. This is
Deadly.
both in encounter and in painting.
This may be a CR2 monster, but this is a CR10 painting encounter.
In certain areas, yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's half the fun is doing the the stuff with all the details and the tentacles and like with the fact that I haven't done too much in the way of painting, I knew that this was going to be a little bit more challenging because it had all these nooks and crannies and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so exciting to do. And I know when people have asked me, oh, what do you suggest for new players? What do you suggest that new players should, what kind of character do you think they should play? And there are certainly classes and subclasses that are easier to play, especially for new players.
Mm-hmm.
But my advice is always, well, what are they excited about playing?
Yes. Same.
What is the thing that they're, when you ask them what Lord of the Rings character they want to be, or
mm-hmm.
what Marvel character they want to be, or whatever. And yeah, okay, so maybe they're looking at the druid in the book and they're like, oh, but I want to turn into all the animals and I want to do the thing. Are druids complicated? Absolutely. But you know what? They're going to be excited. And if they're excited
mm-hmm.
to do it, they'll put in the work. But if you suggest stuff to people that are, this is, all right, druid is a little bit hard. Why don't you start with this? Why don't you start with why don't you start with a fighter? And they're not excited. They're just going to let it drop.
Yeah.
It's just going to be, this is not what I wanted to do.
The appeal is fully gone.
It is, and you can always start at like level 1 and
mm-hmm.
super easy. And so I feel like this creature might be slightly more detailed and complicated than my skills might be ready for, but I'm having way too much fun to care.
And that's good.
And it's like, but this is fun. I'm getting all the nooks and crannies, and like it's got all the tentacles and teeth and everything, and that's the important bit.
It's just got a lot of the nubby
especially
bits.
for October.
Yes.
But yeah, every once in a while, trying to get, I look at it in a different light, and I'm like, oh, there's a whole bit of that tentacle I just missed.
Yep. No, I'm doing the same thing. Trust me. I'm actually gonna pull it back so I can get a closer look and not have camera in my face.
Camera in my face. Well, I will look up. Hi to all the new people who have joined us. We are in our second hour of painting a carrion crawler. That's my name. That's the noise I make for carrion crawlers. This is Sir Crawl a Lot.
Yes.
Welcome. Let me grab some more questions from chat. We got Ligabytes. I like my coffee like I like my D&D. Dark, random, and covered in carrion crawlers.
Ooh.
All
Extra
right.
protein.
I appreciate that coffee. I'm gonna have to give that a try.
Mm-hmm.
Mitzi Moo says I send English breakfast tea to a friend in Sweden and a pair of thick hand knitted socks every Christmas. Oh, that's lovely.
That's precious.
That's absolutely lovely.
That's so thoughtful.
Socks are one of those things that are often misunderstood as the best gift on the planet. As a as a Jew who got socks all the time,
Hmm.
What people forget, because especially as a kid, when I'd say, "Oh yeah, I got this pair of socks and it's awesome," and my friends would be like, "You got socks for Hanukkah? What are you talking about?" That's and what they're picturing is like the bag of socks you get from the store that are
Right.
just like your regular everyday socks. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
You don't understand. I have been given the fuzziest of warm socks in bright
Oh.
colors that I will wear that
Oh.
are just the best. And that's the kind of socks that you get for
Uh-huh.
friends. Oh, it's the best.
I am a sucker for print socks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
give me fun print socks. I will be a very happy camper. Like, the more zany, the better in my book.
Absolutely.
I
I am
mean,
also I've gotten into although I have to be careful about finding ones that are the right size, but toe socks.
oh,
Socks that
interesting.
actually they give you the individual toe and
Space?
you put your individual toe space into them.
Yeah.
um I actually really enjoy wearing those. They're very comfy and they seem like the most uncomfy thing on the planet, and they're probably not for everybody, but yeah, toe socks, surprisingly I haven't been able to find them. They're really hard to
Mm-hmm.
find. But yeah, but I agree also, yes,
Huh.
all the fun colors.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of if you want to find a really like make me just get giddy, like give me a pair of socks and I will not be a snob about it. I had to pull off screen because there's no way I can get to this particular angle and have a camera hanging in front of my line of sight.
Ah, that's okay, we all understand.
Thank you.
I'm working on the bottom of this tentacle here, and I'm having the same challenges.
Mm-hmm. And worst case scenario, you go back and you realize you missed a spot, you can always just go back in and touch it back up. Even if you have to remix the color a little bit,
There we go.
it'll still work out. Because remember, these are the base colors. We still have a little bit of dry brush work to do, and that will kind of help hide if there's a slight tonal shift in your mix. Oh, really? I still have to stay off. Hold on.
Oh, and I just saw on the other tentacle. I was on the left tentacles, and I
Mm-hmm.
just saw on the right tentacle on the back. I was just like, oh, there's a whole
That's
tentacle I missed.
what just
Ah,
happened to me. I just did the same thing, and it's also I need to pull closer. Pull it closer to my heart.
come here, come here, come here. There we go. Yeah, and that's the other nice thing. Going back to our sock discussion, as someone who has both grown up and lived in colder weather climates for quite a while, fuzzy socks are just the best
Oh my gosh, especially
because
like when you're getting ready for bed.
yeah, or like in the middle of the day where you've gotten a little bit
Mm-hmm.
cold, like there's been a
Yeah.
chill in the air and you're like, well, I don't want to put on a whole other layer because I'm inside, or I just don't feel like wearing a sweatshirt even though sweatshirts are awesome, and
Mm-hmm.
just pulling on a pair of fuzzy socks. Oh, so good. So
It
so good.
is lovely. All right, so here you can see one side of the tentacles are done.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm getting there.
I am too. They are slippery little suckers. Full pun intended.
Absolutely.
Steer into it. Love it.
Uh oh, Ouchie Bug says another way to make those highlights is to use an oil wash paint if you're finding the shading isn't coming up as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you can use a Q-tip or cotton swab to remove it from the areas you don't like without risking the already painted on areas. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
so what are your thoughts on oil wash paints? Because we've talked about these are acrylics, right?
Right.
That we're using.
I would definitely recommend that being for someone who's more used to working with different types of paint and comfortable with mini painting in general. Because I
But
have
that's
used those in the past. So
So
it's
what are the some of the advantages to those paints that are worth it for people who have a little bit more experience, but are a disadvantage for those who might be newer at mini painting?
the advantage is that the colors sometimes are richer and that sometimes even like they go on a little bit better. I have found. Uh,
Oh,
Disadvantage is I find personally oil based cleanup.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely becomes a thing. It's a little bit more of a time devotion. This is based off of my personal experience, both in painting oils onto miniatures and oil colors in general on canvas. It's not just the, oh, I'm going to paint for a little bit and have some fun and da 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 da. You know, if you're going to be using oils, you have extra brush care, extra cleanup care to keep in mind. So that's the one caveat I would say. It absolutely is a fantastic technique. I am not knocking the technique at all.
Mm.
I would say give yourself time to get used to paints before jumping into that particular technique, though.
Good to know.
And definitely watch a couple tutorials on it before you do too, just to kind of help out along the way. Oh my
I don't know
goodness.
how successful I've been at keeping off of the brown on the tentacles on the
Yeah,
suckers, but
same. But we're
but
gonna we're gonna do a little dry brush with the same color. To be honest, what I didn't want to have happen is to get it so it was so deep in, everything got obliterated. So if you got a
ah,
little touches there, you're still okay. You're still in great shape.
but I think on the good side,
You got it.
I think I got the tentacles done. And
I'm
I think I
impressed.
caught all of the nooks and crannies of the back of the tentacles because
I'm still going. My
it's
goodness.
been a it's been a challenge. I got a couple of spots here and there I'm gonna just grab right now, but oof.
It's definitely been a you keep turning and then you're like, oh no, we're doing some more turns.
And definitely it's been the okay, what way haven't I turned this
Mm-hmm.
yet?
Mm-hmm.
What rotation factor do I need to do?
Yeah, exactly. No, oil paints and miniatures can be quite stunning, especially if you want to do blending work. It's beautiful with oils because oils have a less not less oils don't dry as quickly as acrylics will,
Hmm.
so you can really do some beautiful blending work with oils.
But then I imagine the other side of that is you have to let it sit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna do some of the things
Yeah.
that one paint next to another, it's like, all right, I've done this, and now
Yeah,
I have to wait for this to dry.
I think there are more people who tend to go for the acrylic thing because of that, quite frankly. I have found in my circles at least,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to be ever one to say don't do it. No, that's not my style. Definitely explore it, but once you feel comfortable, will be my little asterisk comment
Hmm.
on working with oil
Um,
based paints.
and because I have to,
Yes.
because Garwar heard the name of our creature,
Mm-hmm.
and Garwar says, I like to crawl, and I cannot lie. All you other monsters can't deny. When a
Yes.
human walks in with an itty bitty mace and shoves a round shield in your face, they get stung. Yep, I love it. Very nice.
Unseen.
Who
Amazing.
who needs Jason Charles Miller? We've got chat.
We've got chat.
Oh,
Exactly.
in fairness, if you come for bardic inspiration, chat helps a ton.
They
But yes,
do.
I love it. And Canuck Monkey 13 says my spouse's first D&D character was a druid who got a special ruling to allow them to spend most of their time in cat form to give a reason why they didn't have to talk much because they were shy. I love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you do end up with D&D characters or players who
Mm-hmm.
are they're there for the ride along. They're not there to be the star of the show.
Right.
Or even if they are like super interested in being a hero and the star of the show, sometimes you have a game and where you're like, I want to be here and I want to be with my friends, but I'm just not feeling up to performing, and so I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to be here to support my friends and enjoy the story. And yeah,
Yep.
I think it's in the player's handbook, but there's a couple places that they talk about like the different play styles
Yes.
and the different ways people like to play D&D and
Mm-hmm.
how important it can be as both a DM and as a player to kind of realize what your overall general style is, as well as like, oh, today I'm feeling feisty and I want to just
Yep.
kill things, where
Yep.
usually I'm not a kick down the door kind of person. So
Yeah. No, it's very true. Okay, so now that I have the tentacles also painted on my end,
yeah.
as far as I know, could very easily turn this in a new direction and different lighting and realize there's a spot I missed. That happens.
Yep.
That's okay too, because again, these are
Yep.
base colors. I'm gonna go in for my flat brush, number 2 flat brush,
Oh, okay.
and same color. You also need paper towel nearby because we're gonna do a little dry brushing on those suckers. Oh, sure, you can fold over onto my plate. Why not paper towel?
Oh,
Just do a dry brush on those suckers.
and by suckers, you are literally talking about the suckers, not
Yep.
a figurative sucker.
Not a figurative sucker, the actual suckers that are on the arms. And you're just going to float it above the surface as you do with dry brushing. Again, dry brushing kind of helps bring out the upper layers of the details. I'm just going to go through and get that onto each of these. And that way it's not getting too deep into the tentacles. Like, I still want to have some of that depth left, but it just antes it up slightly.
All right.
Okay, now let me see here. Hold on a moment.
Yeah, I definitely have a couple of tentacles that I did a very good job about avoiding the darker bits, and a couple tentacles where it's like, their suckers are going to be a bit more mocha. It's fine.
That's okay. Honestly, because there's still going to be a wash involved, so it's still perfectly all right. So I wouldn't worry too much. You still got what you need to have happen. Yay.
I still got a bright red mouth, and that's the important part.
Yeah, because that's the part you want to, like, warning. This is not a spot you want to play with. Or get near.
Yeah. I also feel like I'm getting, this is kind of a nice way to continue my getting used to dry brushing, because that is definitely still a technique I'm working on.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that this is, like, in a weird way, because it's the same color as some of the other stuff on the tentacles, I don't feel quite as worried about, if I put on too much, it's not the end of the world, because, there was that color anyway.
Exactly. And, like, right there, I realized I did have a big old spot that I did not get before, so I just carefully used my thumbnail to pull the one tentacle down. Not pentacle, that's something else entirely. So I can get that edge, but again, it serves the purpose.
See, now you got me pulling off tentacles.
Don't pull them off.
Just like, let me just... Oh.
That's a different story. That's a fighting technique.
There you go. That's when you want to be able to craft you want to craft something out of one of those tentacles, and it's like, no, don't kill it until I can pull off a tentacle.
Yeah. There you go. So here we go. That is just with the dry brushing onto the actual suckers, and I'm going to rinse my brush. And that, I believe, is everything we need this particular color for. And now, all right. Now we're going to get on to the back, and I think we'll get the back done and go from there. Look at that.
I'm not going to have a perfect show off here because of once again, my camera, but there we go.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to do this portion up through here.
All right.
The back of the body through here. And
the wormy bit.
The wormy bit. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to mix white and brown together again, 2 parts white to 1 part brown, kind of basing it off of what we did with this color. But we're going to add in a touch of yellow. If you hear my stomach grumbling, keep in mind it's almost dinner time in my time zone. So sorry, folks.
That's okay. It is well past lunchtime in my time zone, right? So you might be hearing mine. So you said 2 parts white to 1 part brown. 2 parts white to 1 part brown. So okay. Part brown going. And actually, I'm going to make it a bigger dollop. Let's make this, let's see, we were doing peas before. Blueberry. Maybe about a blueberry dollop. Okay.
For part sizes. Because this is a greater area we are going to be covering here.
Yeah, there's a lot of back.
Yep. Baby's got back.
I'm glad we both went there. I'm glad. We had to, and I'm glad we went there together.
Good night, folks. I love painting with you.
I love painting with you too. Okay. So I got the white so we're doing the white and the brown first, and then we're going to add the yellow after.
We're going to add it after. So I'm going to mix this together first, make sure it's in about the tone I want it to be, which is close to what we had for the underbelly.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got pretty close.
Yeah, I'm close too. Mine darkened up as it dried, which kind of you expect to happen.
Oh yeah.
All right, so that's a bit, again, we're going for that mocha hot chocolate tone. And then I'm going to grab yellow, and we're going to do like what we did in the beginning with the red and the black. I'm going to put a dollop of yellow off to the side. And then I'm going to use the end of my brush to bring the yellow to the mix. because I don't want it to be too glaring, but I want it to have a yellow tone to it. And it looks like that little dot was just about what I wanted. So now it's going to look, oh, what food can I compare this to? Kind of going for like a brown mustard, almost.
Okay, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more of a yellow mustard fan.
Yeah, me
But yeah,
too.
like a spicy mustard.
Yes, spice.
Like,
There we go. Spicy mustard. I'm actually gonna pull in more yellow. This yellow is not as potent pigment-wise as I thought. That's the other thing. You can talk to certain paint colors, and sometimes they play as you expect them to, but then other times you realize, oh, the pigment concentration isn't quite what you anticipated. So it's okay if you start adding more. It's always easier to add in than it is to take out.
can you even take out? Is that even a thing?
You can try and offset the balance by adding more of the other colors.
Ah, okay.
So it's less taking out and more adding in. So really, with
Okay.
these Vallejo colors that I'm using, it probably could have been equal parts of all. Well, once the
Oh,
bubbles
wow.
go away, at least for mine, which is cool. My bracelets are making a fun little jangly. There we go.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm getting it closer to like it's an obvious warm beigey color, dark beige. And it's definitely a difference in tone from what we just did in the underbelly. That's what I really want to make sure we're getting to.
Okay. And I'm assuming since we're doing the wide back, the baby's back, we're going with a bigger brush.
Absolutely. Yep. Jump to that number 3
All right.
and take it away, so to speak.
And do you recommend starting at the tail and moving up, starting at the top, moving down?
Whatever floats your boat in this case. The one thing you'll want to avoid is getting this little ruffle thing that's happening there. Because we're going to get to that one, hopefully, today before we call it quits. But yeah.
And what about the legs?
The legs we're going to do next week.
Okay. So
The
no legs, if
no
possible, and no frill. All right.
No frill.
And a couple more quick things from chat before I dive into the back. Ouchie Bug says, you can use a makeup powder brush for dry brushing, and it gave me some coverage as a normal dry brush, but they tend to outlast 5 dry brushes as they don't tend to lose the hairs like normal brushes do.
Yep, because makeup brushes are made at a higher quality than paint brushes.
Which makes sense. I would like the brushes I'm using on my face to be as a high quality.
Yep.
And Canuck Monkey 13 says Carrion Crawler plus Pentacle equals Carrion Crawler with Warlock levels.
Oh,
yes, I love it. Yes,
there we go.
Give your Carrion Crawlers Warlock levels.
In fact, I'm gonna say as you're painting this on, don't worry if you get it on the legs.
Oh, okay.
Now that I'm doing this.
You know, now that I've actually put this on the body, it's slightly more yellow than I expected, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's totally okay. It's workable.
It's a little less spicy mustard and a little more. I'm not sure, but I'm not mad.
That's good. You don't want
It definitely looks a little brighter on the creature than it does on the paper plate.
I may have ironically just made V color. I think I did. I basically made my skin tone.
Yeah, you know,
It is a fleshy color. That's just it. It's kind of a fleshy colored monster.
The one we were using, that first brown, that's a little closer to mine. This is the one that I've made, at least, is, as I said, it's a little more yellow. I may have to put some brown back in.
That's okay.
It's a bit bright, but that's, as I said, not a bad thing.
Keep in mind, this is also something that's going to get a brown wash on it at the end. And we are going to do some dry brushing next week, which will kind of, add a lighter tone before we do the wash. So it's all good. It really is. It'll work out in the wash.
Okay.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Literally in the wash.
Literally, darlings. It's in the wash.
And if not, then I will just have a slightly more colorful Carrion Crawler.
Well, and that's just it. I was looking at various art for Carrion Crawlers. And yes, there's the official art, and there's also the lovely art that we have for the game, which is right down below here. Dee-dee. But some other people did like interesting takes with things like green, like caterpillars,
Oh yeah.
or more gray, like millipedes.
I kind of like the
So
green idea.
yeah, the green
That's
was really cool. That was a fun concept. Like I'll probably do that if I get another one of these miniatures. Because another fun tip is when you go to use minis, and this is an in-game tip. If you want to use minis for your table, and you have a bunch of the same baddies, it makes a huge difference when you take your baddies and you give them all a different tint of color. Because what
mm,
happens is the players will be like, oh, I hit the one that's brown, I hit the one that's orange, I hit the one that's yellow or red. It just kind of helps keep it clear as opposed to which one, oh, the one to the left, that one, no, that one, oh, that one, no, that one. I did that with a bunch of Yanti where they were all different scale tones, and it helps.
absolutely. I had a friend who they would intentionally paint the bases different colors. And
Mm-hmm.
so the bases wouldn't necessarily be quite as pretty because it would just be this solid color and often be a
Yeah.
color of, red, blue or something. But they were these super awesome minis anyway. And then yeah, horde of skeletons, I go after the red one. I go after the green
Mm-hmm.
one. I go after the blue
Mm-hmm.
one. That helped a lot,
Yeah.
and it was super easy to do because they literally just grabbed some paint
Yep.
and just, all right, we're gonna paint all these bases.
Away you go. I am going to jump down to the detail brush to work this color between the legs in some areas. I will say that. But for the larger portion of the body, definitely use a bigger brush. It'll also help give you a more even coverage with a larger
Oh
brush
yeah,
than if you try
definitely.
and do it with a smaller brush.
And we're going on the head all the way up to that
Up to that darker gray.
crest.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
We are, in fact, doing that. Except I think I'm going to switch to my details brush as I get closer to that area.
Oh, that's looking good. It
Mm-hmm.
is it is definitely very yellow, but I'm liking it a lot.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm going to switch
I
to a different brush.
Yeah,
You were
I'm
going to
gonna
say?
switch shortly. I'm just finishing that up. I definitely went more mustard.
That's okay.
But yeah, you
My
can see
yellow
mine.
wasn't my yellows wasn't picking up as I anticipated it to. So,
Maybe I can
whichever I think the
shield this.
model one,
There we go.
yeah, I think the model one behaved more as I anticipated it. The one that you're using than the game color
Yeah.
behaved more like I thought it would than the model color from Vallejo did. Yeah, I'm definitely going to switch to a details brush to get into these areas. Like there's just some little points.
Yeah, in between those legs is
Yeah,
a tight fit for
finite.
sure. I'll be
Yeah.
joining you shortly. I'm almost done with the crest here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to use it to kind of get around. Get around here.
Also, there's a weird seam down the back that for some reason I'm having a problem getting paint around. It's not one of the abs. I
Is
think
it
it's just a
one of
seam of
the?
the mini.
I was gonna say it might be a mold line, which can happen. Mold lines are another thing where you can work on removing them. There's just a couple things to keep in mind when it comes time to removing them. There are special tools that make it far easier, for sure. As soon as I do this, I'll show you what the tool looks like. You can also use files to help bring things down, but what you want to keep an eye on is how much of the primer paint you've removed in process. Because if you start seeing the
Oh,
plastic of
yeah.
the mini, you're going to have to do a quick layer of prime again
That makes sense.
because you've essentially removed what was, I'm going to call it the insurance policy.
All right. And I'm gonna answer a few more questions that came on in. Jumbalulu wants to know what paint are you using. So I am using. If you check our Discord, discord.gg/idle champions, we have a paint and slay channel, and all of the things that you need in order to paint along with us, if you would like, are listed in there for each of the different creatures. And the paints, so I'm using all of that stuff. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're interested in painting along and following with me, I'm using the let me actually pull up the full document here.
Hmm.
So the paint set that we've got listed is,
It's the Vallejo game color line.
yes, there we go. Sorry, I pulled up the wrong thing. Yes, it's the
Totally cool.
Vallejo line.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we list off the specific colors, and then also you can get like a set, and that's what I got. So I got a set
Yeah.
of the Vallejo paints, and the brushes I am using are the that same basic set that's listed. And it's been great because it comes with pretty much one of everything. I don't have any of
Mm-hmm.
the washes. We've been V has been instructing me on how to make washes as we go.
Yes.
Um, and Ligabytes wants to know, while pushing back your hair, have you ever painted a line across your face?
Yes.
That makes sense.
I absolutely. I had it was like almost like war paint because I did one of these things, but I
Oh,
moved my brush like this, and it was and it was terrain painting. So
oh
yeah,
no.
that was not on camera. But yeah, I was painting. I have this stone technique I like to do where it's more of like a blue undertone to start, so it was like this navy blue streak right across my cheek.
Oh jeez.
Yep, that was
I
fun.
I haven't had that happen to me yet, but considering the number of times I don't have much hair, but on a regular basis I'm doing this with my hair, and
Mm-hmm.
it's less to get hair out of my face and more just a
Thinking.
thing.
Yeah.
Everybody has those habits of things that they
Yeah.
do, and especially when I'm thinking, I tend to run my hand through
Mm-hmm.
and over my hair, and then I could totally see getting paint on my hand and then having a streak in my hair, and it just
Yep.
being a thing that happens.
It becomes a thing.
All
But yeah,
right.
there's always fun little stories about the painting experience.
It's like D&D. It's just you get
Mm-hmm.
together and you tell war stories. It's like, I remember this
Pretty
one
much.
time.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
pretty
remember this
much.
one time I ended up with a streak of blue in my hair and no one told me all day.
That's the worst part is when if you're walking around and it's been there for a while.
Oh, jeez.
Like, could no one tell me I had this spot on my face?
I mean, I'll just say this on camera for the world to hear. I would rather know. I
Mm-hmm.
would tell me the momentary embarrassment will be very quickly gone as I am pleased and thankful to be able to fix the paint
Mm-hmm.
on me, the missing button, the
Oh god, yeah.
whatever thing that I can easily fix. The toilet paper on my shoe. Please tell me.
Yes. Please let me know ahead of time. Thank you so much. Yeah, but it is true though. It's like I always try to if I notice it, I'll be like discreet about it. Especially if it's a
Yeah.
friend, what I'll do is if it's like in a group of people, shoot a text message
Ooh,
and then,
yeah,
"Hey,
that's a
did your
good
phone
idea.
just buzz?"
I appreciate that you're on silent, but you might
Yeah.
want to check
I
that.
think your phone might have just buzzed. No, I'm pretty sure it was your phone.
Yeah. No, that's good. I
Yeah.
I I have heard that some people are they're like, I would rather not know. I'd rather not be, thinking about that kind of thing or be
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed in that moment. But for me, tell me.
Yeah, just tell
Because then
me.
even if there's nothing I can do, at least I'm aware.
Right. No, that's totally, totally fair. Okay, I think I have all those lovely nooks and crannies. There really
Think
are
I
a
do
lot
too. There, yeah, especially
with
when you
this
get in
particular
between the
color.
legs.
Yep. So I think what we'll do is we'll have enough time to do that frill around the bottom of the body. So we're going to take this same paint and we're going to add just a touch bit more brown.
Ah,
So I'm
okay.
going to going to go back to a pea-sized dot of brown to the side. And just mix it up quickly with the base of my brush. And mix at the edge like I did with the mouth. Like I'm doing here.
Okay.
It's just going to make a darker tone of what you were just painting, basically.
Because it's in shadow.
Yeah.
Ah.
Just a slightly different color to show it off a little bit more. And then I'm going to go back in with a detail brush and use that mixed up color and finish the body. And what we'll do next week is we'll focus on getting into the legs and the other details that are happening on here.
And there's a lot happening.
Oh, there's a lot more happening on this one than you realize.
There is so much
Yeah,
happening.
yeah. Looks like the frill starts about here on this side. And if you get onto the legs and onto the base, that again is totally okay because we'll go back in and edge with new colors so it'll get hidden. So don't worry about that if you kind of slide off in one area or the other. We can fix.
And
Okay.
there's like that tiny, if you start from the top and you go back, it's like frill, frill, frill. And then there's between the third and the second leg, it doesn't look like there's any frill. And then
Yeah.
there's like this tiny little bit of a frill
Yep.
behind the second to the first leg. And I'm like, oh, you
Yep.
sneaky
I have to
frill.
go. I painted over that by accident. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to fix that when I go back to the frill on the other side.
You
Yep.
sneaky frill.
I know exactly which one you mean. But yeah, I'm purposely tucking this up close so that if I go onto the leg, I am not gonna stress myself out because I know the legs are getting done anon. And because we're gonna go straight brown with the legs, it's a strong enough color on its own where I don't have to worry about. But what if?
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, monotone creatures are harder to paint because you're still trying to keep visual interest without getting too many colors involved. So it's shifting a lot of tones.
But that is the joy about fanciful creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Is if
Can make them more.
yeah, you can just make them purple and who cares?
I mean, I'm for it. I'm the one who took the Umber Hulk and made it a jewel beetle.
There you go.
That was
We're
honestly so much fun.
I know we're going to be doing a giant spider at some point, and
Yeah.
in relation to the carrion crawler and before with the myconids, it would seem like the giant spider is going to be a much less
Mm-hmm.
bright creature, unless you're
Or,
unless we're thinking about like jumping spiders and stuff. But I feel like even just going in for all of the different textures
mm-hmm.
and getting all that detail, even if we just went for a straight black spider, like I'm
Right.
kind of interested in that.
I was gonna say we could also just have a whole bunch of fun and kind of make it like a dark purple spider with like hot pink highlight esque type things.
Ooh,
Make it a little bit more fanciful.
the fancy
Something
spiders.
appropriate for Witchlight.
I wish we could do something iridescent.
We could. You just need pearlizing agent.
So is that something you add to an already
You add to a
existing
paint.
paint?
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. So you don't have to buy like a pearlescent paint.
You could if you wanted to. There are pearlescent paints, but you can also get a pearlizer,
Hmm.
which will make your paint pearlescent. That turned into a tongue twister.
Definitely. Oh, and Canuck Monkey says for carrion crawlers, they think they were bright green in one of the older editions, like 2E. So
Oh, there we go.
that that bright green that you had found for these
Mm-hmm.
guys are
That makes
not,
sense.
yeah, they're not only a real life thing, but also a D&D thing.
I
So
like that though.
So I'm going to take a second as we are winding down here
Mm-hmm.
to remind everyone to stick around after we are done here because Garwar's Guide is coming up. Garwar's Guide to Everything. So there's going to be more D&D and Idle Champions Joy coming up. And if you would like to join us to continue with the Carrion Crawler Joy, go to our Discord, which is discord.gg/idle champions, and you can find all of the information in the Paint and Slay channel on what we're doing. And you can join us next week. So you'll be able to catch this VOD on our YouTube. And then for next week, when we have the second half, you can join us as we finish this out. I'll go ahead and put our YouTube channel in the
Yay.
chat. If you're on YouTube, if you just look for C&E Games or Idle Champions, you'll be able to find us.
Excellent. I think at this point here you can see the frill is painted on just a slightly deeper tone.
Yeah.
You know, nothing popping out too obviously, but just enough to shift things around. So at this point, I think we're going to call it for the day for our Carrion Crawler. And what we'll do is next week we'll jump into doing things like getting the legs painted up, painting on the pattern of stripes that happen on the back of the critter.
Ooh,
So getting
yeah.
those in once we do the legs because it's a similar brown tone. And then we'll also do things like getting the eyes blacked out. So it looks like those intense buggy eyes.
Yeah.
So we'll do that next week, and then we'll get the teeth, and then we'll do at that point we should be able to do some dry brushing on the body just to help bring out some texture, because it's all going to be the same like light beige color that we're going to mix up to do dry brushing all around. And then once that dry brushing is finished, we'll be able to do washes and work on the base and fun things like that. So we're getting into like the
Yay.
finer details for next week.
I love it.
Yes, and we should have it finished
Awesome.
up. Yay! Very cool.
And if to remind people who've just been able who have joined us late, if people want to see the unboxing that you have going on in a couple of hours,
yes.
remind everybody where and when that is.
So I will be unboxing Gargantuan Tiamat from D&D Icons on the Realms on my YouTube channel, The Crafting Muse. Very easy to find, youtube.com/The Crafting Muse. The live event is already scheduled. Just, subscribe, follow, and you'll get the notification when I go live. I will be unboxing Tiamat, putting her together, doing some up close and personal shots so you can see details of her. And I have a slew. This is only a portion of the minis that I have next to me that I'm going to pull out and put next to her for reference, because you won't believe what happens when I show you, here is the mini here. Now let me put it next to Tiamat. Okay, it should be a fun event. Hopefully I have a few friends joining me in the voice chat, and it's just a fun Friday evening. If you want to have a little adult beverage, then by all means, provided it's legal, come and join us. We're looking forward to it.
I have to ask,
Yeah,
will you have a banana for scale?
I could. You want a banana for scale? I could
I
have
want
a banana for scale. Okay.
I'm a fan of banana for scale.
I will do a banana for scale.
Yay!
We will
Come
do
for
a
banana
banana
for scale.
Come for the
Thank
bananas.
you. Thank you so much. This is so fun.
This is
Every
so much
week
fun.
we do
Yes.
this. And thank you to everybody in chat. Thank you to our moderators for grabbing questions from chat and running the poll so that we can come up with a name. So thank you, Martin and Mars. Thank you, everybody, for Sir Crawls a lot. Yes. I love it so much. And go ahead and come to our Discord. And if you've been painting along with us, show us your work. If you've been doing other mini painting, show us your other mini painting. And otherwise, we'll see you next encounter.
Sounds good. Take care, everyone. Bye.